Hi, this is Baba. After I shared my progress with you, most of you suggested that I share my strategies. And I didn't want to be speculative. That's why I've taken the time. The best thing to do was to conduct a basic research to understand how this came about. But as I told you earlier, it's really by grace. But on top of my head and based on my experiences at Group in Doom and here, I just want to share with you what has worked for me, and that's what I have on the screen. So I'm just going to take them one after the other. The first one is leverage on existing resources. And an example is that when I came here, they didn't have a records repository, but what they had was an abandoned bungalow that had been assigned to them. And since I didn't want to build castles in the sky, what I did was to write for renovation or structural improvement of the place so that we can properly keep our records. And when you are able to argue the issues out well, and with the grace of God, you'll be able to get it. And that is why the next one says write, develop writing skills. You need to write, especially if your environment calls for it. In some institutions, you don't do writing. You have other ways of sharing what your departments need. But I think in most instances, you need to write. And for here, you need to write memo, develop your work through memos and research. And so I wrote about the situation. I tried to put the issues there, and hopefully you get the approval. Yeah, but writing is not enough because as of course my predecessor probably has written in a number of times when I look at his papers. And so that is why I have here lobbying. You have to lobby. And when I say lobbying, I'm not talking about trying to manipulate anything or trying to bribe or trying to do anything. No. What this lobbying for me was trying to let people understand how much the bad records management system is costing them. So, for example, I went to my finance director first to introduce myself to him, to tell him that, okay, so I just came into the system and I don't know him, and I just came to greet him as a daughter, something like that. Okay. Now the second thing I did was that, and he was very happy, and we spoke, and discussion from why my name is Mrekua or Bonuedie to all those is also open up, talk as the person try to bring issues after he is interested in open up and talk to the person, laugh about it. Don't say anything about what you want in terms of records management or anything. You leave. Then the next time we met, I told him that, okay, so if I look at his records, some of his records offices are packed, and all his offices are packed with records, and I need to come and take custody of it. The issue is that I don't have the space, and this is the issue. I need shelves, I need to clear up the bungalow and all that. And he was so interested in making sure that one of his records room clear up so that he can accommodate some new staff. So he said, okay, you know what, put it in writing and make sure that you write every single thing that you need so that when approval comes, it comes for everything. And he also gave me the idea that I should try and try to convince management that I'm ready to commit my budget for the year to it. So if I have, let's say, 40,000 for the office to spend, maybe on printers and computers or the usual stuff that we need in our offices. What I did was to commit every penny of that amount to that project. And then so I wrote to Central Fund saying that I have this amount in my budget and I need their support to be able to restructure the records office and then also purchase these items which are really necessary for blah blah blah. So basically you have that is the lobbying that I was talking about. Maybe I should add that I went to I actually chose one Sunday and visited the finance officers church because we haven't chosen a church here yet. I went to his church one of the Sundays I actually pleaded with my husband that I want to go to my finance officer's church. And I went to the church, and when he closed and saw me, he was so excited. And then I told him, oh, we are now, looking around for a church. And then I decided to visit his church and see how they do things. And he was really happy because he is a leader in the church, and that's what lobbying is about. So not trying to manipulate anything per se, but trying to. I read a book some time ago which says appeal to their nobler motive. Okay, so trying to reach out to the heart of the person. The next one is determine the return on investment for your organization. So whichever records management program that you want to sponsor or you want to fund, excuse me, how is it going to benefit the organization? What is the cost to the organization right now? And when they invest in this project, how is it going to benefit them? So most people usually say that, oh, records doesn't really bring direct benefit. And so it's not easy arguing at the issues. But I took this methodology from Laserfish, okay, who suggested that they were using Ramsey County and some corporations methodology for calculating return on investment. And what they are saying is that list all the variables in terms of what you do in records management. So the current practice right now in terms of documents filing and retrieval, how is it costing the organization per month? For example, if you have you are spending 2 days to retrieve a file, how is it costing the organization? If filing is difficult because your records are dumped somewhere in some basement and all that, how is it costing the organization? And this is a whole topic. Seriously, I can't really discuss it so much. So how is it costing the organization? And then the RM project that you want to initiate, what is the efficiency rate and how much is it going to cost the organization? So when we finish and you subtract this current the RM project, the current cost, okay, for the new project, you subtract it from the current practice. Let me take it again. So when you subtract the new project's cost from what is currently happening, the cost, you see that you'll be able to get the amount that the organization is losing in terms of, let's say, document and retrieval. So it goes on to, let's say, document printing and reproduction. So, for example, this will really work for those who want to argue for EDMS or workflow management, like try to limit the use of paper in your organization. So you calculate the amount of printing costs, the toner that is being used, the servicing that is done on the machines, the photocopying and all that. And then you put the cost here. And then when you initiate your RM project, how much is it going to cost the organization? There's also storage. So document storage in terms of fiscal records management. When you look at the offices, how everywhere is piled up, and they need to build more space, build more structures to accommodate staff and all that. You calculate so real figures. So basically, when you are doing these things, I always my advice is that you try not to be emotional at all. Just be objective as much as possible. Put the issues as it is on the table. Yeah. So that is how you do the return on investment. Trying to convince them that okay, so currently what you are doing, this is how much it's costing you, and you will need to do a bit of research and digging and a lot of sit down and analysis to make sure you get good and right figures, convincing figures. You are the archive, so you have actually access to all the records and how much is being spent. So make use of that. Yeah. The next one is rebrand archiving or RM or change perception. And this is actually a very popular topic that we all have to deal with every day. But I think what works for me is how I carry myself. You have to be very convincing when you are talking about records management. You have to try to carry yourself in a way when you go to meetings, the way you talk, when before you stand up and talk, make sure that maybe you check the background or check online to make sure you are citing some people, you are citing some relevant sources. So like just for me, I know this is a very broad topic. I think Isaac has written something on it. But for me, I would say it's basically the way you carry yourself, the way you talk, the way you present issues. It helps you to rebrand. I'm sorry, the season. The next one is that let your bosses feel like it's their idea. And this is really important, especially for those who say that, okay, so I'm under somebody, and even if I write, it wouldn't get to the management because somebody will sit on it. You need to develop a very good relationship with your bosses. And by this, I'll give you an example of when I was at Group Indum. I went to Group Indum as an intern. So throughout my school time, I was working with them. So when I finished and they wanted to take me on, I was going to do the routine things I was doing, like, reconciliation, standing in for people when they go on leave and stuff, like accounting stuff that I didn't even know. But when my boss was looking through my CV and saw that I have a background in records management, he then said, "Oh, okay, so at a directors meeting, they were talking about establishing a records management department. And you seem to have the background." I said, "Yeah, I can help." And then I developed the proposal for him. He took it. It was all about him for almost the first 2 years that I was there. He brings the project, he tells me what to do. He just asks for my technical advice in terms of what we are going to do, and I do the write-ups and all that. But it was all, he was the face. And I was always happy, go talk to him. Then we'll be discussing what we can do new and all that. Sometimes also when an idea drops, he would tell me and say, "What do you think about it?" And I even remember sometimes, some time ago, when he saw things about pride in the newspapers, he would photocopy it and bring it to me and all that. So develop a very beautiful relationship with your boss before you do the writing. When you do that, it becomes easy for them on their mind, because I think most people in leadership position are actually feel like they are being challenged or they are being overthrown in some way, like, and so you making them feel that, okay, so no, 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 you are safe in your position. I just want to learn from you. I just want to, let's say, ride on your wings or help you to actually push you to actually go further. Then it's easier for them to also push you forward. And it happened until one day, Dr. Idum's son was looking for the person behind records management because he wanted to do something or train somebody or something. And then I was called, and that is how my breakthrough started. So please develop the good relationship before you do the writing. As your letters are being pushed or memos are being pushed to the background, when you usually talk first, when the letters come, it's easier for them. Yeah. The next one is, I didn't take yourself out of the critical factors. Consider what you are doing and not doing right. And by this, what I mean is that we end up, complaining about, okay, so the records are, nobody's paying attention and all of those things. But then we fail to think about what we are not doing. Okay, so what I was not doing was that when I came in pregnant, and I was focusing on all the problems that I was facing around. I mean, being in a new environment, disconnected from my church, disconnected from, everything that I know. It was very, very uncomfortable for me. And I wasn't focusing on the work. I will usually be in the office, very comfortable. So in this case, maybe your office may be at the basement or somewhere very comfortable. You are sitting there, nobody sees you, you don't talk about, you don't write, you don't so what are you not doing? It can't be everything management, because management has a lot of things on their mind to deal with. So you have been placed in the archives or records management office to make sure that you champion that office. So what are you not doing right? And that is for you to find out. Mine is what I have shared with you, but you find out what you are doing wrong currently. It may be what we already spoke about. Like I said, this is just a rough strategy. I'm sure if I sit down and reorganize it, some points will go under another thing. Yeah. So it may be like, maybe developing a very good relationship with your bosses, maybe like starting to write, maybe starting to publish some things in a newspaper, so that when your bosses see, hey, so like this lady, wow, so try to be seen. Yeah. And then the next one I will talk about is motivate records assistants or click. And these people are very important. They are pushing your work. They are making sure that things are done. Sorry. In my office, I have one person here. When I came, because I was a woman, he was really how do you call it? Oh, uh, I'm not getting the word to use, but he was scared that women and our issues, and he was thinking that I'll come and be all that, those kind of people, that. So, and he is a male, and my office is full of males. I have only one lady, and all of them are older than me. So imagine the phobia of thinking that a young girl like that is coming to overtake, like, coming to take. But this guy is a junior staff. Okay, but he is so good with processing backlogs. Well, he's been doing that for the past 10 years or so with my previous my predecessor. So he's very good. And sometimes he even, does things, and I feel like maybe does he have a background in records? But he doesn't. He attended one workshop at UPS, and he's always blabbing about it. So a person like that, when you give him more opportunities to train, to know what is really in records management and all that, they will really appreciate it and also continue to spread the word for you. But if you shelve yourself in a way that, okay, so you are the only person who is there, all knowledge about records management in your office, nobody knows about it and all that, you will see that a lot of people will now, like, I mean, it's not even an interesting topic. So in trying to make the topic interesting for other people to appreciate, maybe in changing perceptions, you can also train other people here. What happens in most public sectors, I don't know whether it's everywhere because I'm new in the public sector, is that they shift people around a lot. So this person who is in your office, whenever he's leaving, he's going with that knowledge about records management, and you are that ambassador. So making him see records management as juicy, as nice, and also with your character and your relationship with him as, very respectful, it makes them love the work. Okay, I've even had people who are say, okay, I want to do records management and my master's in records management. I need a guy just because of how I relate with the people around here. So this records assistant I'm talking about, at first he was threatened, but now he's very comfortable and we sit and we talk, we discuss issues and all that. Okay, most of them will come with all those. Like when I came at first, sorry, the video, the audio or video is dragging on. So when I came at first, anytime you're talking to him, oh, okay, so my boss used to do this, and my boss used to, it was always about my boss. So I was asking myself, what about me? Who am I to this guy? But then I realized that he was really uncomfortable with the fact that he's getting a new, because he's worked with this person for a long time and he's getting a new boss, and it's not even a male and it's a female. So I had to actually take my time for him and understand. It was one day we were talking, and I just told him that I don't work with that. This is how we used to do things, or this is how we used to do. Because if you don't change things, then all the complaints that you have about the office will continue to exist. So why don't you join hands with me so that we can do things differently? And he was like, "Oh, madam, I'm ready. Oh, it's not because talk plenty and all that." So since then, we've been working together. He does most of my backlog processing. If I'm not around, sometimes I even leave it for him to do and later go and do quality control. And he does a very good job. Yeah. So please motivate them. Motivate them. Don't push them to the background. Don't be the owner. Sometimes send them. I've sent him several times to represent me at trainings and all that. And this makes him very excited. And I'm happy because when he's happy, I mean, he helped me to accomplish things. So yeah. The last thing is go with the times and venture into various aspects of RM or archiving. So my example will be that when I came here, I saw a publication in the news, for example, that said that, okay, these public institutions have registered with the Data Protection Commission, including some universities, but my university was not listed. So I quickly did a memo, a very convincing memo about why the need for registering compliant, the need for complying with the Data Protection Act, and the how do you call it, what the institutions stand to lose if they don't register with them and all that. And immediately, the registrar was so, you know scared that, they paid for us to register with the commission. And I mean, like, that give a plus to your office as a records management office. So you don't only stay with the things that you knew many, many years ago about records management. Try to venture into new aspects, not new aspects of as in outside of records management, but new aspects within records management and archiving, because our profession is changing, as many writers have commented that it's changing. So if it is archiving, people are doing digital archiving now. So try and see if you can. Sometimes you may not be able to do it at a larger scale. Let me just share how I started my digital archiving. When I came in, I just started scanning my records. I don't have an EDMS yet. Okay, I don't have an EDMS. I didn't have an EDMS yet, but I started scanning. And what I wanted to do was purchase a vault with Google, okay, like on Google Drive, and then use that to store, okay, and then link the scan images to the current document that people use often, like the sorry, like the HR office usually access the personnel files most of the time. So link them so that the HR manager can just sit in his office and then by a click, you'll be able to access the files without having to always chase us. Okay, so that's my idea of helping them in terms of data archiving. But then once we were doing it, then I realized I had a history that some institution, Carnegie or whatever, donated an EDMS to the institution over 10 years ago, and that system is dormant. So I started, having meetings with the IT department, asking about the system. Luckily, it's still available because they bought, the donation was the owned version, and later they even bought 10 licenses also. So then it comes back to this leveraging, where is it? I said something about leveraging on existing resources. It comes back to this strategy, leveraging on existing resources. So we reinitiated it. I had a meeting with the system is Docu Explorer. I had a meeting with the vendors outside the country. I discussed their new features. What's the possibility that whatever we have will still work? And at the end of the day, all we needed was a new server to reinstall the EDMs. And we did that. And now I have an EDMS, and it's, I'm a fan of Laserfish. But Docu Explorer works really well, just like Laserfish. It can do all the things. It has all the functional requirements that electronic records management, we learned that a system, an EDMS is supposed to have. So I'm leveraging on existing resources, and now I have an EDMS. So dig into, maybe it might not be an EDMS per se, but they have a content management system. Some content management systems can be able to host data archives and all that. So you see, you build the security structures for just the records management within an existing system, and you have already implemented a data archiving project. So I'm still talking about venturing into various aspects of RM or archiving. Okay, so I've spoken about my data protection thing. I've spoken about the EDMS that I implemented, and what else? And I'm actually because I've been busy, but what I'm thinking of also doing is to write about even establishing an RTI office within the records management. Luckily, my office was structured in the sense that you have the records management unit as the umbrella, then we have the archives under it. So which means that we can have a scanning unit, we can have so basically venture into new aspects, okay, and everything will become very, very interesting. I hope that I've been able to make some useful contribution in terms of strategies for convincing management to fund a records management project. Like I said, this is something that is interesting for me too, and I will sit and really work on it, probably write a paper about it. Those who want us to collaborate and write it, I'll be very excited because it's not really easy publishing in a journal. So all the people in academia who are interested in partnering so that we can write really professionally something that is based on proper research and all that, it's welcome. So thank you very much, and let me have your feedback about my Shabo strategy. Thank you very much, Amy. Bye.